Let's go back to the late 1800s. So there we go.
Yeah, good solid record.
I wonder what kind of weather, though, they had on this date. I'll have to go back and look. I'm sure we can find it out. We do have some snow for you right now. It's not a lot, though. Most of the active weather has been across the northern Rockies when it comes to snow. So for you in Fargo and then for you in Duluth, you're getting a break. But here it comes. We're going to see some more come back in. So right now we've got some dry conditions. Here's a look at your stretch going from Thursday into Friday. That's really when the next system comes in and brings us the next round of snow. North Dakota into northern and parts of central Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. That's where you get the snow. But by the time we get into the weekend, temperatures are starting to warm up. So now we bring warm air over top of a cold air mass that's overrunning, and that can give us some of that wintry mess sometimes. It could be a wintry mix of rain and snow. There could be some ice. We've got to watch out for that. Any sleet or freezing rain. We see that on Saturday evening, too, getting up all the way into Fargo and even Duluth. You may change over to rain, too. So in terms of snow, and this happens before that changeover, it's about 3 to 5 inches of new stuff for you in places like Duluth, Minnesota. What a start to the season. Yeah. All right. So with that, talking about tornadoes in November, we got to look at climatology. And yes, it does happen in the fall. We do get severe weather. We do get tornadoes. Just this October, we had 70 preliminary reports of tornadoes. That's 19% above average. The average is 59. At least 21 of them were from Hurricane Nate. And we know in September and October, a lot of times when there are tornadoes, they're related to a landfalling tropical system. But once you get into November, you usually take that out of the equation. So here's November, and here's a look at the area of greatest risk. It's closer to the Gulf of Mexico, right? Closer access to high moisture, more warm air, and that's the most typical area based on climatology. But we know no 2 years are ever the same, so we've got to look at each season by season. In November, the average is 55. Last year we had 51. The record is actually 150, set back in 2004 and 2005. So this winter, and we talk about November, but then the winter months are December, January, and February. This winter, we're heading into a La Nina winter, and so that affects the pattern, and the pattern is usually a bit warmer across the south. That may lead to an enhanced risk of thunderstorm activity and possible severe weather in the southern Mississippi Valley, but also up into the Great Lakes as well, and into the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. Jackie. All right, not surprising with that weather. We're from historic hurricanes and catastrophic flooding to record snowfall and raging wildfires. This has been a year of devastating natural disaster.
Chief Resilience Officer in Atlanta, Stephanie Stuckey. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie. Let's talk about this. First of all, explain to everybody what a Chief Resilience Officer is.
So disasters, and not just natural disasters, though. So how do cities adapt and thrive in the face of all these challenges?
So what kind of role do you play? Is it a planning role? I know Atlanta has a big project called the Beltline Project. Explain that as an example.
So we do planning. What's great about the Beltline is that almost anyone, well, you can just get on it. You can walk, you can ride your bike, you can, skateboard and get to ours.
Which could be, of course, affected by the weather.
That's right.
It's interesting, too. It may not be the city of Atlanta that gets the worst of the weather, but you have to prepare for, let's say, a Florida evacuation.
Absolutely.
People flood to Atlanta.
Yeah.
From Florida.
So just because we're not a coastal city, we had more downed trees than any other incident in recent memory. We had locks. And then really getting to the underlying stresses and vulnerabilities so that we're preparing better.
When it comes to preparing and planning, what about incorporating renewable energies and just resilience in that way?
Yeah, that's a key component. Distributed generation of energy through solar is something that is part of our strategy.
It can happen. I think back in 2014, we had like 11 plows.
Yes.
Do you guys say, okay, well, hey,
do any incidents in their immediate neighborhood? And that's the important thing.
Good work.
Awesome. Yeah. Stephanie Stuckey, Chief Resilience Officer for the City of Atlanta. Great talking to you.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. Thank you.
I really like hearing about inland cities, too, that are working on this. It's not just a coastal challenge.
It's not just a coastal problem. We'll be right back.